Damn it, Nightbot. What up, Aid? I think it's set like only subs or something can post links. Just a second, getting some stuff set up. It's just a lot of punctuation. Nightbot's just super special, so there's that. Yo, what up, Pro? Coming in early. Converting the Prime Gaming sub to a Tier 1 sub. Appreciate the renewal, brother. Man with the Founder's badge right there. I think Pro does have one? At least a VIP. GME to Pluto. Sailor Jade, how we doing? There's a couple on there. What's up, everybody? How we doing? Yeah, we need to. I actually pulled the nano leaves out this time. See? Ta-da. Get them all pretty. Still need to figure out what I'm doing like with the entire other half of the office. Whether that's going to be like desks or something. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like if I want to like actually have that as like a workspace. I don't really do a whole lot from home, so if anything, it'd be for Kelly or the kids. Yeah, so the nano leaves are gonna go up there. I do it like in the shape of an L, kind of like a logo thing, and I actually tie it into the Twitch chat, so you guys can use commands to change the lights on the wall, and like anytime anybody resubs or donates or whatever, the lights will react to that as well. So it's pretty slick. Norse by Night, how we doing, buddy? Welcome, welcome. Nanoleaf is a light panel. They're real thin LED lights that are in different shapes and things like that. They were kind enough to send me a starter set for it, and you can lay them out in, you know, whatever pattern you want. And they just have unlimited uses in terms of the different colors they can do, patterns. You can make them react to the music. They're really slick. I thought I had the sound alerts active this time. The Stream Elements is screwing up. Let me not log in for you guys there. Not that I don't trust everybody here, you know what I mean? I just don't want Prote stealing my shit. I must have the browser source or something screwy. Oh well. We can mess with that another time. You guys aren't here to see noises. You're welcome to it, dude. So yeah, let's dive right in. We got a lot to cover. It's a brutal day for sure in the market. I hope everybody's surviving okay. Um, we did predict this. We did know it was coming, so I hope you made some intelligent stop loss, or at least got some profit secured. Yeah, a week, that's for sure. SPG's making any money? Good deal. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time screening tonight, I don't think. I have most plays that I'm keeping an eye on my watch list, and I'll post some in the morning. What I want to focus on tonight is what you guys are charting, what plays you're in, anything that you have questions about for major market movement, for crypto movement, and I want to take a look at some macro stuff and kind of gauge where we should be closing the month at. Property stocks, it's not a bad move right now. It's cheap. I want to screen to see if anything's popping up that I don't really have on my radar right now. ATNF came up several times. Looks like it's in a really good spot depending on how the market comes out. We'll just throw a quick chart at it. Doesn't really have a whole lot of historical data to go off of, to be honest. You see it's got these nice step-up patterns on the monthly. That's always good to see on a long term. It's trying to find support here. I'd probably want it to come down a little bit. You can see how it did a little cup and handle and then took off from there. I'd want it to find support at the top of that cup before I bought. You can see how it tapped it once. I think this 20 moving average comes up, and we could probably get a buy somewhere in the low fours. Got a question about Dogecoin. Yeah, get to the crypto stuff. Put that on the list. So but you can see that kind of overall downtrend finished up sometime in April, and it's been doing nothing but nice things since. Yo, Pro, appreciate you giving this sub to Norse by Night. Is that alert not working? Sounds like the alerts aren't on. I got booted out of Streamlabs, weirdly enough. I had to relog back in earlier today. So maybe it killed all my stuff whenever it did that. Which is bothersome. I hate whenever updates completely negate everything you're working with. Like, it's... You make it real difficult when you do that, companies. You really do. Let me just make sure the alert box is the same. Yeah, see, it's not coming through. Huh. Yo, hey, thank you for the follow button. Alright, we'll troubleshoot later. I don't know why it's acting up. As long as you guys can see the screen and can hear me, the alerts and all that stuff, we can play with later. But like I said, if you do have something that you want me to get to and take a look at, just toss it out there in chat. We'll add it to the list. First come, first serve kind of vibe. I do know who Michael Burry is. He's been making some interesting predictions lately. Norris, it's really hard not to just go all in on crypto on these dips, especially just looking at Bitcoin and what we expect it to do. I've got it in 100K by November. We'll get to that. But with as volatile as the market has been, it's difficult not to just look at the simple gains that people are making through crypto and that I've been making just off sympathies. Theta Coin's another one I'm really excited about. This is SNMP, Sanchez Midstream Partners. You can see it hit our original price target here of 158, so that's good to see. Completed that flag pattern, double topped up on that resistance. Still staying on this trend line though, which is nice. Tweet a couple weeks ago, he said Dogecoin is a horribly set up digital currency that basically makes no sense as to why it's been successful. That's incredibly accurate. Just, you know, jumping around here. I really don't have a structure for tonight's stream. Let's see, the US dollar amount. There was a way to do this as Satoshis. But I forget how. But basically, Dogecoin follows literally the exact same hype pattern every single time, regardless of the value of the coin itself. Right? So you get massive hype, you get FOMO, and a little bit of sell-off, and it just continues to crash. People try to force the recovery, and then it dies. Same thing here to a smaller pattern. Same thing here to a smaller pattern. Same thing here to a smaller pattern. This is the Elon spike right here. Hawko, what's up, buddy? Only took draft. No, that's what I was saying before. Is Doge has had exponential, what you call parabolic gains in the past. Same thing here. Same thing here. It's going to continue to die every single time until it starts building up hype. There has been some PR and some things lately that are solidifying it in terms of major market players are going to keep it viable to scalp, as in buy here, sell here, buy here, sell here, playing the dips. But as a long-term investment, something like Ethereum or Bitcoin or Theta or something that's rooted in the actual use of the coin, or if the coin's blockchain is used as an actual service, Doge has none of that. It's a completely definanced coin. Its value is entirely inherent on the hype at the moment. You'll never be able to buy stuff with it. You'll never be able to do anything with it. And I know you're going to be like, well, that's what they said about Bitcoin. You don't put a Doge meme on anything worthwhile. That's the long and short of it. So, how is it a horribly set up currency? That's kind of what I'm getting at, is these other currencies that are being that are going to have a functionality to them. Bitcoin is getting picked up by Tesla. You'll be able to recharge your Teslas with Bitcoin. There are major market hedge funds or major investors that are using it as an alternative to gold, as a currency protection. Theta Coin is one that I'm pretty high on lately. Theta Coin is a completely different set of blockchains where the coins themselves will act as nodes for a peer-to-peer load sharing system that is pretty much going to eliminate the server costs of content delivery networks. They're already partnered with Google. They're already partnered with the World Series of Poker. And they haven't even hit major platforms. Like, you have to get to Binance and some smaller, obscure coin trading ones to even have access to it until March, when they're going to go to some larger things. And when they actually get listed on Coinbase, they're already trading upwards of almost $4 already without all that. So it's going to be really interesting to see a coin that is rooted in a service that is not provided by anyone else on the market. Could you imagine somebody like Netflix or Disney Plus picking up something where the content delivery is based on peer-to-peer sharing, and now they don't have to pay hundreds of millions of dollars to Amazon for their web services? Massive profit. Massive profit. Bitcoin had no legit use, but it was there. Right, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you could say that about Bitcoin. That is when the industry began getting established. Cars used to be a novelty. There's you can point to that for every single step of any market's evolution or creation. Bitcoin had no purpose outside of, you could win 25 of them in a CS tournament, and it was the worst prize. Guys bought pizza with them. But to expect another coin that has no root fundamentals, that has no limit in how many can be generated, and is completely arbitrary in its use, to eventually have traction and build demand is unrealistic. Bitcoin, because of the blockchain, has a limited predictable flow. It has a limited predictable controllable quantity. And as that quantity becomes more scarce, the value goes up. You can't define that with Doge. Then how do you get that coin if it's not anything? Binance is what I've currently bought it on. There's a few different... So you can get it on Binance, Huobi, which I think is the Korean one, FTX, KuCoin, OKEx. So like these obscure cryptocurrency trading platforms. But like I said, they're partnered with Google already. They're partnered with the World Series of Poker. These guys have a lot of background workings that have gotten no PR yet. They've done no major releases, but I'm more excited about the product. Being able to take, because we've been doing it in gaming for years, right? Peer-to-peer server sharing, like it's based on whoever is hosting that game. Stuff for Quake or whatever. There's now technology and that will be rooted in this blockchain that will be able to do that for movies, for shows, to be able to stream 4K while not having a server host load. It's nuts. They're on link at the moment. Okay. Is Binance one of those apps that halted trading less than a month ago? No, Binance is actually kind of, if you're in the U.S., there's a few states that you can't have access to it. Their terms of service based on state law won't let you use it. I think New York, Texas, I know for sure. You can use it here in North Carolina, but no, they are a cryptocurrency only one. The trading platforms that halted trading because of the GameStop volume and AMC volume are, with the exception of 3 or 4 really old money firms that had the capital to back up their SEC cash requirements for margin trading, were all any major trading platform that has a primarily digital presence. So Robinhood, Webull, Fidelity, companies that are like make the big push for more easy, more accessible, they didn't have the capital to back up the volume that they were covering. And a clearing firm takes 2 to 3 days to settle your trade. Your broker is supposed to cover whatever the amount of that trade that is happening while that trade happens until it settles. If that volume of trading exceeds the amount of cash or the amount of capital or credit that that clearing firm has allotted that broker, the broker itself gets margin called, and they have to ante up the capital or they have to halt trading, because the SEC requires them, like a casino, if you're gambling with this amount of money, you have to be able to cover it. And if you can't, you have to make a decision to either pony up your own money or to halt trading. And all these shitbags decided that their money was more important than our trading. Binance is the largest exchange in the world. Well, there you go. Didn't XRP have the halting thing too? That I don't know. So you believe they were in the right to halt trade? No, they were absolutely wrong. They chose their own money over keeping markets open. And as that shit shakes out, and if you've been watching any of the SEC or any of the hearings or anything like that, Robinhood is trying to pitch it like they were just the poor broker that got screwed over by these strict SEC regulations, and we were just trying to follow that. Meanwhile, their clearing firm is just straight throwing them under the bus, saying, "No, you didn't have the money on hand to handle the volume that you sold to your customers." Hope the legal cases against him destroys him. So what blockchain will the stock exchanges be using in 10 years? That's your question. I think the closest we'll get to that in the short term is going to be Coinbase. They just filed with the SEC to do to be a publicly traded. Once multiple crypto exchanges hit the market, I think you'll see people applying to set up funds that are comprised solely of those crypto exchanges. Whether that happens in the next decade, who's to say? For now, the best we could do is probably hope that somebody puts together some obscure publicly traded group that you could get a hold of. But as far as the class action lawsuits against brokerages and things like that are screwing up, the ones I'm seeing right now are for people that have losses exceeding $10,000. That's all the stuff where those people will actually get paid, and then you'll see like the ambulance chaser lawyers put together large suit class action lawsuits where people that lost $1,000, a couple $100 or whatever, can go in and be a forget the legal term of it is basically a claimant in that suit, and the lawyers keep most of that money, but it will hurt whoever it is. I honestly think that once all this shakes out, that Robinhood should absolutely be destroyed as a company. I'm sorry if you're currently still using the app, you need to delete that thing. It's a piece of shit. It's predatory. It counts on you as a novice trader not knowing what you're doing and taking your money for it. And the product on Robinhood is not stocks. You are the product. They're selling your trading data to somebody more sophisticated in stocks, and they're using your data to trade against you, to take your money. It's an insidious piece of shit. Am I the GME trainer? No. Last question, and I'll back off a bit and get a chance to ask stuff. They do profit off the order flow. That is their primary source of income outside of the Robinhood Gold, which is a horseshit subscription service, especially for people like me who like to trade or like to chart their trades. Can't work out how to use Binance. I need you. Yeah, dude, just shoot me a message on Discord. We'll get you set up. But Ham's actually the one that tipped me off to Theta, and we've been tracking it since back under $1. And you can see it's getting ready to make another move up to about $4.08. But I jumped on GME when it first started running somewhere in the 40s and sold it for $420.69. Just for the memes. I wanted to keep the screenshot. And then the most recent one, I scalped the run from 118 to 199. I love what the GameStop movement and what the push behind it to destroy the corruption that comes with naked shorts has done to Wall Street. I like the spotlight that it's shining on those pieces of shit. I like the fact that it's forcing people, and politicians more importantly, to educate themselves about what money is doing and why, and how blatantly corrupt and unregulated these people are, despite the laws being in place for them to not do the things that they're doing. It's not enforced simply through ignorance on the people who are trying to enforce it and a lack of funding. Can you please answer that again? Please, your stream's jumping around for me. Which part? The GME one? I hope that's what I'm getting into. But the I lost my job in 2008 when the market crashed. The company I was working for was a massive multi-billion-dollar company that worked internationally, and they closed the entire East Coast U.S. branches, and myself and a lot of people were out of work. I lost my 401k, I lost benefits, everything. Complete reset button on your life. And to watch these cocksuckers drink champagne and toast to the profits they made while doing that, you don't forget that kind of stuff. And if there is a financial instrument and a methodology as a group that we as basic retail traders can use to stick these bastards with billions of dollars of losses a week, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Beautiful, beautiful thing. My stream's getting choppy. It doesn't say I'm dropping any frames. I know Spectrum has been shitting the bed here lately, so maybe on my internet company, but as in terms of OBS is saying, we're fine. STC is a farce. It's run by the Exxon. Yeah, you brought up Burry earlier. Anybody who's watched The Big Short, that's a good just commercial view at how in bed regulatory groups are with the people they're supposed to be regulating. It's pointless. It's really gross. I'm on Wi-Fi in the app in the downstairs. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, it might be me. God knows what Spectrum was doing today. I was internet both here at home and at my work were in and out, so it's choppy. It's still halfway through the GME talk. Yeah, and that's another thing. Even with as approachable as The Big Short tried to make the shorting and what happened with the housing market more palatable for somebody who's not in the industry, it's a completely different language. It's a completely different culture. It's a completely different set of rules that none of us get exposed to, at least as an American, none of us get exposed to from any kind of education unless you specify in that field. So just the vocabulary alone, I keep bringing it up, but there was a conversation where somebody was asking, what in your industry sounds like gibberish but actually means things, and there was a sentence that I read in Discord the other day that said that something to the effect of he thought it was a cup and handle, but anybody who's seen a dead cat bounce before could read it easily. The candles don't lie. And that sounds like gibberish if you don't trade, but all of those things actually mean things. Use the same tag on Discord. I love to DM you about your screener settings. Discord, Twitch, Twitter, all my stuff is all Lunchbox_ plays. And I can actually send you some clips too that'll walk you through the screener settings and provide some links onto what I use and what I'm looking for the screen for the scheme that I trade on. But I count myself a pretty intelligent dude, and when I first started getting into trading, I pulled this stuff up, and I had never felt dumber in my life. It's legitimately really intimidating, and I'm only to the point now where I've been successful at it and know enough to know how little I know, because I don't get into options trading. I don't get into writing my own contracts. I do some limited options trading, but the stuff that they were covering in The Big Short, synthetic CDOs based on tranches of bonds, like that's layers and layers of, you have to know about the financial instruments that make up that asset that then become a collective group of sellable assets that then are compiled into one instrument that is then sold, and then people gamble on the success or failure of that sale. So it's like 20 different degrees of bullshit that you have to filter through to even understand what the fuck happened. And it's unrealistic for somebody that works a 50-hour job that has nothing to do with banking to check their 401k and the shit's been cut in half or almost wiped out. And they're like, but why? You told me this was good. What happened? And you're like, well, the market crashed. Fuck you. Give me my money back. What do you mean the market crashed? So it's stuff like that that drives people from Reddit, that drives people from social media to look at any chance you get to get over on financial institutions and make money in the process. And it's a real motivator. Like how, yeah, Trev is much more professional than I am. He's been trading a lot longer than I have. He's very good at what he does. He's helped teach me quite a bit, but I am not a professional trader. I'm good at it. I make money doing it. I'm going to retire because of it. But I don't give a fuck. I'm in the contracting industry. I grew up, blue collar family, military family. I think that people like me are the ones that should learn how to do basic trading strategies like this. And if you make it approachable and you make it just a conversation, it's easier to learn than trying to be overly, proper about it. You just feel the best people to listen to understand are not the professionals. And exactly, you can teach anything to anyone. You can teach a monkey to do most things. It's all about how you relate it. It's all about how you deliver it, how you package it. I like to use analogies. I'm a very hands-on learner. I learn by doing. I love charting live and doing this stuff because I can talk myself through it. I can talk you guys through it. We can both learn in the process because some of these things don't work out. I do lose money. I mean, I think I've got the last 120 days. I had a 94.4% success rate on trades, which is great. I'll take that all day. But the ones that you lose, you got to go back and look at. You have to figure out what the fuck happened. Keep them on your list. Ston. This one was doing everything it was supposed to do, and then that happened. Why did that happen? That caused this to happen. Why did that happen? Why did that fall? You have to go back and look at these things. One, figure out what you fucked up, what you could have seen to prevent that. Sometimes you couldn't have done anything. You can literally do everything right and still lose money. And most importantly, can you get that money back on that same ticker? Teach you magic money, Jeremy? That's what we're here to do. You're at least half a monkey. We got bananas to go around, baby. It'll be a lot of fruits. Good times. I want to chart at least one. That way we can kind of walk some of the folks here that haven't seen this before, how I do it, and what we're looking for. A lot of these are already repeat tickers. So we'll, where's my... Oh, it's just a quiet start to the song. I was like, what happened to the music? Thoughts on when the stock market bubble might pop? We're teetering, dude. And there's a lot, actually, fuck yeah, dude. Let's jump into macro movement. I like to use the S&P 500 as an indicator because tech stocks are more volatile, so the NASDAQ is a little more wonky and can kind of go nuts. And this also focuses on a smaller group of companies that should give us a more consistent run of what we're looking at. If we back out to the monthly candles on SPY, which is it's an ETF trust that tracks the S&P 500, runs about the same values. But poor folks like me can buy the $350 shares instead of the $3,000 or whatever the hell it's trading at. Interesting thing, if you understand, is to check companies I used to work for. That's always a fun one too. But if you look at the monthly candles on the S&P, right, we're still in a very much bull market. How the hell do you have multiple EMAs on an indicator like that? It's the actual indicator itself is called EMA 20, 50, 100, and 200. So instead of selecting individual EMAs, just go to search on the public library and look for EMAs, and people write combination indicators. This one's by D. Botten. Second one from the top. Makes life a lot easier. But we're still very much in a bull market. And if you're looking at macro trends over the last year or so, each one of these candles indicates a month's worth of trading. You can see we're still functioning on this upper trend line that we've been tracking since March of last year, since the COVID dip. You start diving it in further and go to the weeklies, you can see all the crazy volatility and all the shit that we've been dealing with. But it's establishing support as we go up. It's not as drastic as it feels. The big issue is these corrections down to what is the 50 weekly EMA, this gold line here, which is where the base support has been since COVID recovered. Every time it comes down here is when it feels healthy. We haven't got one of those again. And we keep going higher, and we keep going higher at a more exponential rate. So the fall to that support is going to be very violent, but it's not going to take us out of that overall bull market, right? You think COVID's to blame for the bubble? Is it more than that? COVID created a situation where the support companies for macro industries. So your stuff that's in NASDAQ, your Fortune 500 companies, those companies have now been bolstered because the competition, the upward pressure that you get from small to medium-sized businesses has been crushed. Because small to medium-sized businesses are not staying in business. They're just flat out getting murdered. And so when you're becoming, you're already the big fish in the pond, right? When all the medium-sized fish die off, you start to eat a lot better. There's a reason why billionaires in the U.S. added almost $1 trillion worth of their wealth in 1 year during this pandemic. Then you have the compounding effect of the Fed rates just insanely low. Your financing, your loans, your capital loans, your growth stuff, consolidating that wealth further by allowing them to expand those assets. Then the PPP stuff gets kicked in, where you have government grants that, the mom and pop pizza shop down the street, they don't have a relationship with their banker. They don't have a certified accounting team that knows the ins and outs of how to apply. You could take capital losses from the past 3 years and carry them forward through the PPP loans and apply those as a grant, or apply those as a credit against that grant to make it viable, to where you're no longer using the PPP to pay for utilities and payroll. You can use it to pay off all the equipment that you had. They don't know that at the pizza joint down the road here that I like to go to. But companies like my company, we've got fucking accountants and lawyers. We've got people that we can go 3 years backwards, 3 years behind us before COVID, take losses from those years, equipment purchases, capital allotments, and write those off through PPP loans up to 5 years from now. So you've just given me as a company an 8-year window to write off losses? It's insane. So you're taking all of the money that was lost in the COVID dip, and you have now consolidated the gain growth of that into a very small top layer. And it's fucking nuts. That's why we're seeing such a big decoupling from the value of the market, as in, PPSI. Is PPSI actually worth this? I don't know. It may fucking not be. Is Tesla worth what it's at? Probably not. The cars are dog shit. Tesla cars are dog shit. They break down. They're horrible. So we're decoupling the value of the actual companies and the underlying stocks in the market from what the prices are going to. That's where your bubble starts to exist. No, I beat this to death in Discord. Be interested to take a look at iMac again. Give your thoughts on what's been doing the past week or so. For sure, we'll add that to the list. Holding back from getting political. Yeah, it's difficult once you start getting into those macro stuff, but that's the massive growth that we're seeing in it. While the world is on fire, people are losing homes and losing money and are out of work, but prices are crushing all-time highs in the market because market movers are getting all of the money that all the poor people are losing. Hey Shane, what's up? What do you do if there's a sudden change in the market? Like, do you sell before the crash and buy the stocks you're interested in just holding, knowing they will go up? All right, so that will tie into this conversation really well. I'm glad you asked that. So what we track these markets or these macro movements for is to cover plays like that. I typically have set stop losses along the way. I've told you guys where I'll be stopped out at whenever I make my calls, and a lot of them hit before they rip, or we'll get one on a big dip right here. But every answer to questions like that falls back on how much risk you're willing to absorb. What I personally base it on is I have a goal each month, every week and every month. By Friday at the end of the week and by the last day of the month, I want to be up by X percent, right? I have a growth goal. That growth goal and those short-term things all leads to I want to retire in 6 years, independently wealthy and with all my shit paid off. That's what I'm basing on. I need to hit these marks. If I can hit those marks while being risky and making more gamble plays, because I'm ahead for the month, then I'll do so. So this particular dip, I'm so far ahead for the month that I pulled all my stop losses out. I'm holding 13 positions right now, and I think fucking 9 of them at the end of today are red. I'm technically losing money, but I am confident in this overall macro bull trend. I'm confident that we're going to get a stimulus package, and I'm confident that the price movement of stuff like PPSI is shitting its pants right now down around here, but I'm watching it hit and find support anytime the market is sitting still. So when the S&P 500 is just kind of leveling out and not doing anything stupid, PPSI starts to come back. And it gets back up to where those patterns I was tracking are. And I can start looking at those price targets I had set before. Those are encouraging signs for me. Things that I end up selling are ones that don't do that. So if they're shitting the bed while the market's shitting the bed, that's fine, dude. I'm going to hang on to that because I can accept that risk. I know that even if I lose that money on that trade, I'm still ahead for the month. And I can see that when the market stops falling, that stock immediately starts coming back to where I expected it to be. So it's a twofold thing, but mainly rooted in your risk tolerance. Can you absorb that money loss and be okay? Tesla, it's been rock solid. Best car I've owned for us. Definitely a new car company with their hiccups along the way, and the stock's not worth anything when close it is. Car buying experience is future for sure. Yeah, and that's the crazy thing about Tesla is like, it's speculation. That's what the whole market is. It's entirely based on the perceived value of the company along with the base fundamentals. It's obvious that electric vehicles are the future. It's obvious that Tesla is the leading one in that. It's obvious that they have the strongest infrastructure. They have a massively diversified portfolio in power walls and solar, in the shipping industry, in everything that they're doing is they're just tentacles across every industry, and those will grow. So the value of that stock inherently, if you're looking at it as this is based on those electric vehicles, no, it doesn't make sense. But the foreseeable future, it makes sense that Tesla is going to be around for a long fucking time. It's not going anywhere. Helicopter money won't really help the market in the long run, right? Of course, we'll go up in the short term, but long term, I've heard bad things will happen. Can't add you in Discord with your extra number yet. Yeah, Norse, just shoot me a message on Twitch, too. I'll reply with some info. So that kind of money is going to get split up. It's not going to be invested in capital like people would hope it would. We have generations of data that show that trickle-down economics does not work on a macro scale. So companies like Amazon are going to grow. Companies like Walmart are going to grow. But they were going to do that regardless of what's happening. That's not what's driving it. What's going to end up happening is the companies that got hurt by COVID are going to come back. The market's going to come back with that, right? So all of your shipping industries, your commodities industries, companies like movie theaters and gyms and all the things that have bottomed out are going to get lifted back up. And they're going to come back to fair market value. They're going to come back to or do better than pre-COVID pricing, while that artificially inflated balloon of consolidated cash through government benefits and bailouts starts to fall. So you'll have that upward and downward pressure to keep a constant and keep that bull market in place. What scares me more than anything is inflation. But that's a whole different conversation. In terms of those contrasting market forces, I think that the rise of base industries that are currently almost bankrupt because of COVID, by the beginning of next year, will start to swing up real hard, and we'll see a downtrend in the ones that have been overplayed during the pandemic be offset by that uptrend from traditional commodities and shipping and oil and all that. Dream cars Tesla after Lunchbox comments, I don't know. I've heard from a lot of people and I'm going to trust if you're talking about an unbiased opinion. Yeah, and again, that's the thing is you have to look at when you bought the Tesla, because their models are constantly improving. Like, even if you buy the exact same model a year apart, there are drastic improvements because they are constantly doing better. Everything about it gets better every single time. The fact that they are as successful as they have been and are willing to make those changes delineates them from traditional vehicle markets where, GM or a Ford or something would leave those flaws in place because it's too expensive to fix. Tesla is nimble enough to say, hey, that's fucked up, we need to change that, and just completely scrap the bad part and improve or create something new with it. Answer to year-long dilemma things, set month targets from now. Yeah, it's not financial advice, it's my opinions, but if you look at where big money is putting their money, and that's never a bad thing to follow with smart money. Smart money is getting back into commodities. Smart money is getting back into shipping. Companies that have new ships, that have newer fleets, that have, all the things that you would look for in a traditional fund, oil and energy. That's where all the big money is going back to. A college student can't afford them right now, so there's no point in looking. It's good to have goals, though. It is good to have goals because that allows you to set your plan and determine on if you're not heading towards that goal. Let's take a look. Let's dive into crypto. We've had several crypto questions. Bitcoin. I'm going to toot my own horn here. I have been accurate about Bitcoin since it was at $8,000 and have called successful price targets for this since last summer. So that $8,000 to $55,000 swing, I'm pretty pleased with. I got screenshots and the receipts to back it up, baby. Just want GME to go back up tomorrow so you can cash out. It's going to be an interesting one, man. It really will. I don't think it's dead. I think it's got a lot of room left to run on a long term. Just got some tweets or some alerts about the minimum wage stuff. Full confidence will come out and get a sub 20K and be affordable. Okay. But yeah, so for Bitcoin is probably one of the most technical analysis friendly charts that you can find. It does the same shit over and over again. Crazy reliable, really accurate in terms of charting. There's multiple models to base it on. I'm personally a fan of the stock to flow model. Gets into some in-depth stuff, but it's basically a supply and demand kind of thing. And you can see this current triangle I've got drawn here is my expectation of Bitcoin to be in this channel till mid-March. Just looked at my old company. By the look of things, they've gone strength to strength. Maybe my replay was wrong. Well, they had to shed some bad assets, get rid of some dead weight and toxic personnel. We're happy to see anybody succeed, man. Just because you're not at my table doesn't mean I don't want to see you eat. This current Bitcoin movement, I believe, is going to match the previous one and the one before it and the one before it. In the sense that these initial long wicks are going to establish our bottom. If there's support, you can see where it dumped down to here. There's no support here, so it's going to go search for the rest of it and found it here. Same thing, we got these big dips and hard recoveries above that, but now we've cleared out that resistance. I don't think we have any support in this slide right here, so I think it's going to take another hard chunk down. Maybe 42, maybe not that far. What we're looking for here is this 50 EMA, this moving average here, to come up and act as our support for the bottom and form that trend line. And we'll see it kind of doink and bounce in this area until it consolidates, a la what we saw at the end of January. And then once it breaks that trend line, it will use that trend line as support. Dive into the 4 hour here so you can see a little bit better. But you can see how it just comes down and just smacks up against it over and over and over again. Keeps hitting that. And then when it breaks out, right there, it dips down, finds support on it, and then takes off. I expect that to happen here, right? We got the end of our movement, our top here. I want to see an upper trend line get established. You see it gave us a nice little W pattern here. I want to see this turn and hit and then fall, and then hit, and then fall, and hit, and then fall, and give us those upper and lower trend lines so we can predict where it's going to break out at. And then if you take the height of that pattern, right, the height of that previous growth, which is what this did, this is how we established that 55.6 price target. Our next step up should be 68.5. That is my expectation for Bitcoin, and therein will lie your crypto market movement as a whole. Can I share a link? I think so. Yeah, you got your subs. You should be able to share a link. You know I love you, Hako, you productive son of a bitch. Make sure I don't blow out some eardrums here. I love that they've added AMC and BlackBerry and everybody in there. If anything, if the only thing that comes out of this is the memes and the videos and the fucking congressional hearing with the guy with his bandana hanging in the back, deep fucking value, that makes it all worth it. I've made a lot of money off of these scalps, but if anything comes out of it, just the memes, I'm perfectly happy. It's great. They really are great. But BTC's movement, not every cryptocurrency is going to move in lockstep with BTC. Most do. If you start looking at some of these smaller coins like Ethereum and Litecoin, and let's see what Litecoin's doing. Myself and some folks have some monies in it. But you can take these. Look at that head and shoulders pattern right there. Perfect dip. And overlay Bitcoin's movement. Oh, it's not going to do it in normal percents, are you? Damn you, TradingView. You can normally get about, I have to figure out why it's wonky like that. But you take Bitcoin's movement and associate it with other coins to determine if it's moving as a sympathy to Bitcoin or in lockstep with Bitcoin. A sympathy meaning it's making similar movements like Riot, like Mara, these smaller miners and stuff like that are sympathy plays, or if it's running in lockstep with it. Litecoin is not. Litecoin's kind of doing its own thing. That's a good way to determine whether something's establishing its own value. If it's not moving in lockstep with Bitcoin and just sympathy of it. As we speak, Theta Coin making its curl right here. Come on, baby. She's back over 3. It's actually kind of a bearish pattern. Might have to come down to back down to the 240s. 280 might be good support there yet. But I've got this going to 408 for its next step up. But if you look at Theta Coin and how it's moving, and then flip over to Bitcoin, it's the same thing. This is a lockstep play, as in Theta Coin will do what Bitcoin does. Litecoin is a sympathy play, in that it will follow the same upward trends, but deviates based on its own value. Waiting on verification for Binance now. There we go. I'm shilling. I'm a Twitter pumper. Sat down, look at the screen, confused me, so you might just go to bed. So, Haka, when we draw the pretty triangles, the triangles make money because the top and the bottom go up. I need to chart something so this shit makes sense. Let's do TMBR. We made a lot of money on TMBR so far. We like a TMBR. I've been trading on this swings for quite a while. And then we'll get to some of these requests here. But this one was an inverse head and shoulders pattern. It's a nice pattern we can track down here. These lines, these horizontal lines, represent resistance and support based on previous levels that the stock has traded at. So that means that there's ownership of that stock at these price points that will, if the price movement goes above it, act as support. If it comes up to it, will act as resistance. It forces the stock to either turn around or hang out in that area. You can see that was our price target. We hit that just fine. Back up to 3. Aqua, honestly, that's how I felt the first time you were watching. Yeah, we already talked about that for sure. Fred told me he bought 10 things of Bitcoin when it was $10 and then sold when it hit 100. Goes without saying he's absolutely depressed he sold. Yeah, I really wish I had the forethought to pay attention to and learn what Bitcoin was when you could just buy pizzas with it. It's more I finally found Theta on Binance and it changed its screen style and it's scary time. Gotcha. What was I doing? Yeah, TMBR. I like TMBR. It's made me lots of money. It's still probably making more money. Just kind of eyeballing it. I looked at this one a little bit. This big spike up to $3 does a couple things. It clears the resistance points out at these levels, meaning those stocks have now been bought and sold. And the ownership of that is no longer there. So these lines now become less relevant. As you can see, the price just completely falls or moves through them. What I like on this is that there's these big gaps, what we call wicks, in these areas, meaning drastic price movement through that area is fairly easy. If we can find a decent entry point, and it looks like we're about to get that. You can see our RSI algorithm here. The RSI value is approaching that lower border as it pulls up. When that lower border pulls up, that means that there is less volatility supported in that area, meaning there's not going to be as much movement downward, but the top border has stayed up, meaning that upward volatility is still accessible. So if we try and assume that the value of that is going to meet with the bottom border of that again, and look at areas where we can get support, like this 50 EMA, and kind of ballpark what they're going to do, that'd be about something like that. It's probably realistic. We can assume that unless the market shits its pants, that we can look for a buy in this range right here between the 160 and 185-ish area that these moving averages create, and following this upward trend, and now knowing that these resistance levels have been cleared out, we can buy it for under $2 and sell it when it comes back up to retest this resistance that it didn't make it through. You can see it hit here and fell back down based on prices that it traded at back in May of 2020. So historic data matters, right? You can see this here, 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 here. Constant support and resistance at this level. That's going to be a different point to break, or difficult point to break. So I would look for an entry anywhere under this 20 EMA, anywhere under 190 really, and I would look to exit right before we get to that resistance, because I don't want to get to that resistance, everybody's bailing and trying to sell, and then my order doesn't get filled and we're shit out of luck missing the peak on it. So TMBR, we're going to replay this one, looking for entry under 190. Price target's going to be 298, just under. This one should take inside a month to do. It moves pretty quickly. Caveat to that is going to be whether or not the market makes its final dive to find support elsewhere. Tomorrow, if we don't stay in this trend line, the S&P, most of these plays are not going to be viable. But we're going to add TMBR back to watch, and I'm going to look for a buy tomorrow depending on how the market moves. Dogecoin, probably should have included that in our crypto conversation. US dollar value. Last time we looked at Doge, I thought it was a decent buy. Then it poo-pooed down out of that pattern, so that invalidated that. It hit that stop loss that we set. That invalidates that price target. We're starting over. Like I said, not all this stuff always hits. Elon Musk stopped hype. Yeah, you're not wrong. Again, a cryptocurrency with no inherent value. It is following entirely fundamental values, which are the news, the hype, the PR, the actual value of the company, how it's performing financially. They don't have fundamentals that are based on tangible metrics, so it's all entirely based on hype. So charting it with technical analysis, like something, like Works or whatever, these all make sense from a data point because it's based on a company. DOGE is based entirely on perception. So TA trading on it, technical analysis trading on it, is a risky gamble. That said, looking down at our algorithm here, we are way oversold. We're approaching support, and it's not following Bitcoin. Back up a little bit to the weekly, and you can see we've got a big, beautiful flag pattern going. Based on the weekly, I would want entry somewhere here at our resistance level, 36. Something like that. I think we're going to come down. Let's get back to the daily. I'm going to draw some little predictors. Maybe not that low. Right here. So how's Link looking ever talking crypto? Add that to it. I think we'll have a little bit more dip, a little more action here. Maybe not as low as this 37, 36 area. If this EMA pulls up and acts as support, let's see, we've never tested it, right? Nothing. The price has never come down that far to test the 50 EMA. This is the closest we got to it. The 4 hour. Yeah, bearish on the 4 hour. You can see you dial into a little closer timeline, it starts looking weaker. We lose support here. I think we're going to dip down. We might actually get that. Just looking at the shorter term stuff. Again, if somebody hypes it, if, Conan O'Brien or whatever says, oh, I'm getting Doge too, we could be off to the races. But from a data standpoint, I think we have to fall through this range, right? It found support here, but it broke it. And that eats up all those shares. So if it retests this, it's going to fail. And it's going to look for its next support, which is here. You see how this price movement supported that? Because that is now gone, we've used up that support. We're going to retest it, probably fail, and then look for the next one, which will be down in this area here. Something under 4 cents. That would be the entry on Doge. Barring that, there's a lot of external factors on this one, but that would be my technical expectations, is continued downward movement here before we start retracing that drop. And we're going to say that that pattern started here, that this movement. We'll take our Fibonacci tool and start from the peak, drop it down to the level that we believe the pattern started at and where it's going to bottom out at. So we're going to say, we'll put it on here just for GP. Set here, and your likely retrace as that price comes down, you're looking for that 618 retracements, a healthy level. Puts you at 6.8 cents as you retrace, and you've got confluence there. You've got supporting data saying that, hey, there's a lot of support or resistance here. I would look for it to move up through that, and I'd sell at 0.068 before it came down. My personal move. So you think Dogecoin will go up from here long run after that fail? Yeah, from a technical standpoint, I absolutely believe it will. This weekly pattern right here is a very strong bull pattern. This is what's referred to as a flagpole with a pennant. You take the peak of that high run, and this is that flag pennant, and then you take the height of where that pattern started, which will be the base here up to the top. Actually, let's move that to the side so we can manipulate it better. Up to the top of that pattern and apply the growth of that flag to the expected point of breakout from the pennant to establish a new price target. So if this were a technically sound play and something that followed data and logic, which again I'm saying it's not. I'm not saying it won't go up. I'm just saying it's difficult to predict because it's not based on data. That would put your next step up price from that at 11.75 cents after this pattern. And that would be from a technical standpoint. Your link. Need a full dollar. Wouldn't that be beautiful? That'd be a hell of a payday. What is link? I don't think I've heard of it. Am I looking at the right thing here? Trading at $10 and some change. Those are Bitcoins. What is this traded on? Are you on Kraken here? $24.86 US dollars. That's a dip. This is kind of a BTC sympathy. Just eyeballing the pattern. Chainlink. Chainlink. There we go. Same thing. BTC sympathy / lockstep. Yeah, sympathy, not a lockstep. All right, so you're at 24.89. Not a lot of history on this one, huh? October 2020 on Bitstamp. Hako, your best bet's just kind of eyeball BTC movement. What's the volume on this guy? Nothing. That's the thing about crypto that TradingView sucks at. It doesn't give you volume. So this double top right here is usually the indicator of a longer term bear pattern, which, you know, it may complete here, but eyeballing it. You can see the bottom. This is the weekly now. Each one of these candles is a week's worth of trading. This flag pattern, like we were looking at on the other one, that caused this upward movement, or that tracked this upward movement, has been punched through by this bottom wick here, meaning we have exited what would have been the bull run for this stock. You can see it had a real nice trend line from breakout here up, and then when it punched down under that when that next flag failed, you can see flag up, flag up, flag up, flag we fall. That failure punched out of that trend line, so it's going and looking for new support. It tried here, but it completely fell through this daily 50 EMA. I think it's going to continue coming down to this 100, which is a much stronger trend before you get to complete fallout. And that would give us confluence with the trading in this price range and give you support here. Yeah, I don't see it going lower than 22. I think that's similar to Theta, and the fact it's based off decentralized network working with Google and stuff. Okay. Haka, what's your concern getting into here is if it comes down to this point and you get, and I'll kind of, if you get this kind of thing going on, this is referred to as an inverse, or this is not the inverse, excuse me. This is a head and shoulders pattern, which is a very strong bear confirmation that will indicate a long period, or at least a large price failure of that stock. So when it bounces off this next level of support, if it comes down this low, and if it fails to go past this point right here, this 27 area, and continues to drop, I'd get the fuck out if I were playing it. A head and shoulders hurts. If it's reversed, if it's an inverse head and shoulders like Nokia did, the opposite of that is true. If it's inverse, it goes up. If it's an actual head and shoulders, it's a bear pattern. We love inverse head and shoulders. The reverse of that, you can see what it does. It hurts. No feel good in that one. So keep an eye on it. If I were in it, I would still be holding it, just by virtue of, its current upward movements have not wholly failed. Back out to the weekly, you could be establishing a new pattern of growth, a little bit slower, which is fine. But you're going to want to watch how that recovery occurs. This next few days / 2 weeks is going to be critical. As if it comes down this far and it fails to break out of here. If it breaks out of this, I might even add some, because that's returning back to its trend area. But if it fails again under 27, that's a head and shoulders, and I would sell. Be out of her for the time being. Not saying it's it's dead forever, but I swing trade, so anything that's losing money that quick, I'm probably gonna bail. iMac. K Shoes, you still here? Let's take a look at iMac. iMac is one that we found an inverse head and shoulders on, that we played and made a whole bunch of money. It did exactly what we expected it to, almost to the penny the first time. And this is one of my more accurate ones. We set that price target at 257 and it hit 258. So I was off by 1 cent on that chart. Great looking scheme there. What it's doing recently is pretty interesting. I expected it to fall further than this. This thing has been a powerhouse in terms of how it's hanging on and trying to break through this upper resistance point. This was a big volume spike that drove it up over, but it got rejected real hard. Gonna head out, man. Thanks for the info. I'm glad you did. I appreciate the questions. That's some pointed information, and I like challenging questions too. Not just stuff that's in depth, but things that go against my beliefs and expectations. So please bring more of those. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you around. But iMac is consolidating now. I'll drive into the 4 hour here. iMac is consolidating and getting support in this range to make that push over it. And every single time that you see it smack up against that resistance level, it's eating up those cells. It's eating up those shares that are being sold at that point that are holding it down. So the next major push it gets, if it gets some decent volume and can sustain that volume, you've got a nice run to 350. Maybe a little bit higher, maybe up to that 382 point, but she's holding a lot better than I thought it would. And if it ends up breaking out of that 250 mile, I might scalp that run. I'll probably just buy here on confirmation of the pattern and pick it up as it pushes 349. I'd take that trade. Poisonally. AMTX is another one that's bumping up against some resistance. We've been playing AMTX for months, swinging this thing since it was under $1, and it's been hitting every price target on the way up. And it's one of the most profitable tickers I have in my portfolio in terms of if you do overall profit and loss on it. You can see how accurate the patterns are. We hit set price targets and it runs right up to them. This was the big earnings failure when that India contract got delayed. She came right back, even without the India contract, has come back up to these pre-earnings levels, which is great to see. On a weekly timeline, you can see some more consistent patterns, more consistent trend lines than that choppy daytime movement or day-to-day movement. We're getting into areas here where we're running out of support a little bit, and that's not terribly concerning, but it does make the short-term plays a little bit more precarious. This area built up a support around 750, 760 is nice, and you can see that the algorithms agree with that. The bottom border of our RSI algorithm is pulling up the support, that lack of volatility under this point. Where it's hitting right now is a pretty historic point price-wise, because if you go to the monthly, that's as high as it's ever been. If I didn't have all my doodles here, you would see clearer that we also have a giant cup. And if you take this cup into account and you look at the weekly support, where we got a lot of gaps and very little support in this area, even though the daily looks good. Short term looks nice, right? This looks good. We've got a hard point here that I think is going to drive the cost down one more time. And if you couple market movement with that, that would agree with it. And we see a drastic slide back down into this high 6, low 7 range. That would form the handle for this giant cup if it dipped here and then reversed. We have a cup and handle pattern. And for a cup and handle pattern, you take the height of the neck of the cup, the very top portion of it, this full depth, and then apply that depth to the point of breakout for your next price target. If it confirms those two things, if it dips, then recovers, then breaks out, we now have a price target for AMTX at 1934. So, short term for AMTX, for me, is a hold. Wouldn't blame you if you sold here. Wouldn't blame you if you took profit. A lot of volatility right now. Very little support in this range. But long-term price target, we're looking for two confirmations. We're looking for a dip and a hold over 660. And then a breakout over 10. If we get those two confirmations, I think we get our $19 price target. That would probably coincide with the announcements for the Amazon listings and the India contract. But AMTX looks good for that. Any other crowd requests? I know it's been a bloody week for folks, and most people are kind of biding their time until the market calms the fuck down. I have several that I'm holding, several that I'm looking for dips on tomorrow, and this is another long hold one for me. I like this. Did note the AMTX CEO and speaking at an energy summit March 1st. That would be nice too. That would be really cool if they had some good PR for us there. That may drive that process. But I think I'm gonna go ahead and hop off. It sounds like I got a diaper to change and a little sleep to catch up on. Might clean the kitchen before Kelly gets home from work. But yeah, it's a red week, y'all, but it's not a loss unless you sell. Everything's on sale. If you got some buying powder, play smart with your money. Make sure you're getting the bottom of things, and don't panic. At the end of the day, I believe we're still in a bull market. I still believe these trend lines to be held true. If they continue to fall out, I don't think it's the rug pull. I don't think it's the bubble. I think we'll have a nice support here. It'll hurt, but it comes back. It's an abusive relationship, these stocks. North by night, I'll reply to your message and make sure we get you information on the screener. I appreciate the follows, the subs. I appreciate the donations, everybody. I'm sorry the alerts and everything aren't up yet. I got no excuse other than just not doing it yet. I need to make the time and make it worthwhile. And, yeah. Beyond that, if you have any questions, as always, feel free to message me anytime. I'll get to the questions while I can. Charts are always there. I like when you guys hang out with this stuff, man. It makes the trading portion of it much more interesting. But on that note, I'm going to call it an early night. Thank you again for hanging out, y'all. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I hope Friday goes well for you. I hope the market treats you well, and I hope your weekend's even better.